Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I was married when I was 14. Tom was 35.
I met Tom when I was just 15 years old. Tom married my mother after me.
How did you meet Tom?
My older sister was married to Tom. I met Tom when my mother moved to Salt Lake and married Tom. I didn't see him as a father figure for very long. I said, I want my children to have eyes like yours. And he says, I know how we can make that possible.
In this series, we are going to take a look at 10 different polygamist men and rank them on a scale from mostly harmless to extremely dangerous. The men on this list were or are either in leadership positions in their religious groups, like in the case of Warren Jeffs or Rulon Allred, or they are willingly public figures, like in the case of Cody Brown, or like our first contestant, Tom Green. The criteria I use to determine harm includes how severe the rules are that they promote, how much free will the women are given, how well they support those large families, and of course, any abuse or neglect that occurs to women or children. In some cases, there are missing persons or even deaths tied to these men. Things are going to get dark. Let's get started. Born on the 9th of June, 1948, Thomas Arthur Green was born into a family who were part of the Mainstream Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS for short. Many people refer to this as the Mormon Church, but I'm going to use LDS for clarity. The practice of polygamy had been discontinued by the mainstream LDS Church in the 1890s, though various groups of fundamentalist Mormons still practiced what they referred to as plural marriage. Though already married, Green became interested in the practice of plural marriage in the early 1980s. He began spending time in polygamous circles and traveled to places like Short Creek, Arizona, where many, if not most residents, are part of polygamous sects.
From there, it was making a transition from open society into a closed underground world and meeting people who lived in that society. In time, through my friends and acquaintances and contacts in that society, I ran across the women who became my wives.
He went on to marry 7 wives, many of them related to each other.
Green isn't married to just one set of sisters. He is married to 2 sets of sisters. 3 of them are cousins. He was also married to their mothers. Their mothers are also sisters.
Oh, I'm my own grandpa. While the strange family dynamics were certainly noteworthy, it was the extreme youth of the brides that drew the ire of viewers and law enforcement. Initially, Leanne even accused Green of molesting her when she was only 14, but she would later retract this accusation and was sealed to Tom for time and eternity, which is the polygamous Mormon version of marriage. Green would also go on to marry another set of sisters, both just teens, named Carrie and Hannah. The marriages were only a few weeks apart. I mention viewers because Green boldly went on a publicity tour, making an appearance on the infamous Jerry Springer show.
Tom, in all due fairness, there's a great difference telling someone to wait to midlife and saying pick up a child.
But my question, Jerry, is if all this waiting is so effective, why aren't the marriages more successful in America?
There are all kinds of reasons marriages don't work.
They have more successful marriages than a lot of the people in this society. They have more happiness, more fulfillment, more opportunities.
They have no equality. They have to share you. There are certain nights that they get to come into your room.
He also allowed documentary crews into his dusty collection of rundown trailers he called Greenhaven, and gave candid interviews.
So why you choose to marry the wives so young?
I've married the wives that I have because those are the wives that God brought to me and informed me that these are the girls that I should marry. These girls wanted to marry me and demonstrated their extremely rare quality of being capable of handling the responsibilities. at such an early age.
Stop it. Get some help.
You know, a lot of people have criticized me soundly for marrying young girls, and I agree that there's hardly any girls of that age that are ready for marriage, but these girls were.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
These girls have demonstrated that they really were not too young because they have succeeded in building a successful relationship and a marriage, which people sometimes twice their age or more have not been able to do.
Sure, Jan.
Green openly admitted that he struggled to financially care for his enormous family, which would eventually include 35 children.
I don't have enough time to tend to my children. I know that I'm in over my head.
Sadly, one would die in a fire caused by subpar living conditions at Greenhaven.
A couple winters ago, our home burnt down, and Carrie and Linda managed to get all of the children out, and Jerry was the only one that they could not get out, and he burnt. He died in the fire.
At one time, Green was an apostle for the righteous branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a group that split from the AUB, though he later considered himself an independent. I'm sure he saw himself as the leader of his own group. I mean, who else gives their sandpit filled with broken trailers a name like Greenhaven besides a delusional megalomaniac? Supposedly. Allegedly. In 2001, Green was convicted of 4 counts of bigamy and a count of failure to pay child support. In 2002, Green was convicted of child rape for his marriage to wife Linda around 1986. The girl had been only 13 at the time they were sealed for time and eternity. Green was paroled from prison in 2007, though he returned to a much smaller family. Several of his wives left him, though several others stayed by his side until he died in 2021 from complications of COVID-19. Tom Green was 72 years old. I'm going to place Green in the middle here. I chose him as the first subject to kind of set the scale of what we're talking about with these men. Yes, Green is a sexual predator of children and a deadbeat, but he hasn't intentionally killed anyone, so he's actually far from the worst. Next, we will be talking about a man who has courted fame in the same way that Cody Brown did, but I think he's done it in a little bit more of a progressive way. We will be talking about Brady Williams. Once a respected figure in the AUB, Brady Williams was born on October 18, 1969. His family converted and joined the AUB when he was a teenager, and Brady was a devout believer. He took on a total of 5 wives: Polly, Robin, Rosemary, Nani, and Rhonda. The family has a total of 25 children. Brady had reached the status of bishop in the AUB and was a 70 apostle, which apparently meant he was a prophet as well. Over time, his faith began to wane, and he studied the origins of the faith and came to see the ways polygamy was abusive in the way that he had been taught to live it.
If a woman, even if it's cultural compulsion, that's still compulsion. Like they're born and raised to live. Well, if they are never presented with an alternative, that's compulsion.
Brady left the faith, though he was committed to staying with his family. Each of his wives came to the same conclusions that he had in her own time. While they no longer believe in the religion, they remained together as a polygamous family. In 2013, 7 years after leaving the AUB, TLC approached the family about doing a show. Unlike another infamous family, the Williams lives proved to be too harmonious to provide the entertainment TLC viewers crave. We want train wrecks, damn it. Brady explained it on the Jimmy Wreck Show podcast, which aired March 7, 2018.
So was there some negatives that came out of doing the TV show then? I mean, if you could do it over again, would you do it again? And
I would do it only if the premise behind it was more of a family-friendly show. Because let's face it, the polygamous shows that are out there, the reason people tune in is because they want to see if the wife's going to leave.
Brady now considers himself a feminist. He wants his children to be whoever they want to be, and to explore the world freely. As for his feelings on polygamy, he said,
I think I'm very open that I just think polygamy is so rarely lived for the right reasons, and it's so easy for men to dominate women that it should probably die out.
I think Brady is mostly harmless. He seems to fully understand the plight that fundamentalist women suffer, and now he vows to fight fundamentalism of all kinds, not just Mormonism.
Fundamentalism is a real problem in the world today.
He's probably my favorite person out of all 10 of the men that will be on this tier list. Anyway, I hope you guys are going to enjoy this series. Have a fantastic day and night, and I will catch you next time.